During the Buddha's time, the son of a wealthy merchant of Savatthi went to the Jetavana temple to listen to the Buddha's sermon. At the end of the sermon, the merchant was filled with excitement and requested ordination from the Buddha. However, the Buddha said,
"Do you have permission from your parents?"
"My lord, I do not," answered the merchant.
Tathagatas do not give ordination to those who have not obtained permission from their parents,
replied the Buddha. So the young man rushed home to his parents and said, "Mother, Father, I just met a real Buddha. I've listened to his sermons and realized the futility of living as a householder. I wish to ordain and pursue a higher purpose." He expected his parents to understand and agree, but instead they said, "My son, we are rich and wealthy. Throw away that talk of ordaining. Take a wife and enjoy the pleasures of life." Unable to obtain his parents' permission to ordain, the young man went on a week-long hunger strike. No matter what his parents said, he refused to eat. Finally, when faced with the possibility of a dead son, as opposed to an ordained son, his parents relented and gave their permission. The young man rushed back to the Buddha and requested ordination. The Buddha then assigned a monk to ordain him. The new monk practiced hard and won the favor of his teachers and brothers. After training at the temple for 5 years, the young monk received instruction from his teacher and went to live and practice in a frontier village and dwell in the forest. However, even after practicing for 5 years, he was not able to achieve significant gains. One day, an elder monk stopped by to visit the young monk. The younger monk paid his respects and offered tea to the elder. They traded polite greetings and asked each other about the status of their practices. When the young monk heard that the elder had just come from Jetavana, he asked, "Sir, please tell me any news you have about a certain rich merchant in Savatthi." The elder monk said, "My friend, do not ask about that family. It is a very sad story, and I do not wish to repeat it." This greatly shook the young monk, and he said, "Venerable sir, please, tell me what you know about that family." "If you are certain you want to hear it, I will tell you." The story goes that the family had only one son. That son went off to become a monk in our order. Ever since the son left, the merchant and his wife have not been able to look after their property and run their business. The family has gone to ruin. Many unscrupulous people borrowed money, and seeing as the merchant and his wife were alone, they refused to repay the loans. Others decided to rob the merchant and his wife. The merchant could not stop them. As a result, the two were reduced to a pitiful state, begging for food. The young monk could not hold back his tears, and he felt as if his heart was breaking inside of him. "My friend, why do you weep? Is it true compassion for that old couple?" "Venerable sir, they are my parents, and I am the son who joined the order. I left them to fend for themselves. I am to blame for their hardship." He then thought to himself, "For 12 years now, I've dedicated myself to the practice, and I have not been able to fully understand the Dhamma. I must be incompetent. I should leave the order and go and support my parents." So the next day, the young monk decided to leave. When he reached a crossroads, he had a decision to make. If he went left, he would head to Sawati and go see his parents. If he went right, he would end up at the Chetavana temple and see the Buddha. He thought to himself, "Shall I go see my parents first or the Buddha first? I've had many chances to be with my parents in the past, and after this, I will have many chances to be with my parents." However, a Buddha is an extremely rare being, and I will most likely not have another chance to see him. I will go see the Buddha first, and then go see my parents tomorrow. And so, the young monk chose the path that took him to the Chetavana monastery. On that very same morning, the Buddha sent out his divine eye to search the world for beings whose karma is ripe for learning the Dhamma. The Buddha saw that with his assistance, the young monk would be able to fully understand the Dhamma and free himself from suffering. And so, during the assembly, the Buddha did not start his sermon until he knew that the young monk had arrived. The young monk paid his respects and found a seat at the very back of the assembly. The Buddha then praised the virtues of caring for one's parents in the Matiposaka Chataka. A long time ago, the Bodhisattva was born as a magnificent elephant that led a herd of 80,000. The Bodhisattva, possessing a high level of Gatanyu Gataweti, or repayment of favors given, took great care of his blind mother. The Bodhisattva would often lead elephants to go look for fruits and berries, and have them bring a bunch to his mother. The elephants, not being able to control themselves, ate all of the berries and fruit, and none was left to bring to the Bodhisattva's mother. When the Bodhisattva returned, he went directly to check on his mother. He asked her, "Mother dear, how did you like the fruits and berries?" His blind and hungry mother answered, "I've not had any berries or fruit. I know not of what you speak." The Bodhisattva was greatly saddened when he realized his elephants did not do as he told them. The Bodhisattva realized that if he stayed with the herd, he would not be able to take care of them and his mother. Having to choose, he chose his mother. He decided to leave with her in the middle of the night, and they traveled to Mount Dandorana. There, he placed his mother in a safe and secluded cave in the hills near a lake, and he took good care of her. Now, a certain forester got lost in that very forest. He ended up being lost for 7 days. He could not find his way out, and began to lose his nerve, yelling and screaming for help. The Bodhisattva, hearing the man's cries, decided, There is someone in obvious distress. He will come to no harm while I am here. I will protect and help him." However, when the Porisat came near, the man shrank away in fear and hid behind a large boulder. In order to calm the man down, the Porisat laid down on the floor and said, "Man, you have no need to fear me. Please tell me your trouble so that I may help you." The man said, "My Lord Elephant, I have lost my way and have been trapped in this forest for 7 days. I am hungry and tired, and fear I will never find my way out." The Porisat responded, "Fear not. I will carry you on my back and lead you back to safety. Come to me and climb on." And so, the Porisat carried him out of the forest and found the road. Now that the man was safe, he was no longer worried or anxious. Instead of thinking and reflecting upon the gratitude he should have felt, he thought about how he could take advantage of the situation. He thought, "For such a grand and magnificent animal, surely the king will reward me for information on where to find him." So the man began to break branches along the way and throw them on the floor to mark the way back. The Porisat brought the man safely to the edge of the city and let him down gently. Then, the Porisat returned home to check on his mother. It just so happened that not too long before, the king's royal elephant died. The king had proclaimed throughout the land that, "Whomever finds an elephant worthy of the king, deliver him to me and be rewarded." The forester came before the king and said, "My lord, I have seen a splendid elephant, more marvelous than any other in any land. He is white all over, and highly intelligent and beautiful. None other is more fit for a king than he. I can show your soldiers and foresters where he is." And so, the man led many foresters and soldiers along the path that he had marked. The soldiers and foresters followed him up the mountain and found the Porisat feeding at the lake. The Porisat saw them from far away and knew their evil intentions. He also knew that he was very strong and could easily dispatch all of them with his might. However, deep inside the Porisat, he knew that he wished to be helpful to others, not harm them. He knew that if he gave in to his anger, all the good he had done in all of his lives would be marred by his violent actions. And so, the Porisat decided to control his anger and allow himself to be captured. The soldiers and foresters led the great being for 7 days back to the king. Many people heard the news and gathered to witness the Porisat's magnificence. Back at the cave, the Porisat's mother, having not been with her son for many days, called out to him, "My son, my faithful and loving son, where are you?" But she heard no response. Deep inside, she knew he was gone. She knew that without him, she would not survive. Back at the city, the king dressed the Porisat up in royal attire and had him placed in the royal stables. He offered the Porisat the finest foods. However, even after having not eaten for 7 days, the Porisat refused to eat anything. The king said, "Great being, eat so that you may serve your new king." The Porisat would only say, "Without my mother, I will eat nothing." Elephant, I am now your king. I command you to eat something so that you can have the strength to serve me. By Mount Chandorana, poor, blind, and wretched, she waits and waits for her son who never comes. Elephant, who is this you speak of that waits alone, blind, and wretched for her son that never comes? My mother is by Mount Chandorana. She is the blind one. She is the one that is alone. She is the one that is unable to find food for herself and take care of herself. She is the one that waits for her son, for me, who has not been able to go to her. The king, hearing this, thought to himself, "This elephant is a mere beast, yet values his responsibility and cherishes his mother, even though he now has a chance to become a royal elephant and enjoy all the comforts in the world. He does not think about himself. Instead, he thinks only of his duty to his mother. There are many humans that are not as noble as this elephant." The king then said, "Mighty elephant, honorable and worthy, you are freed. Go tend to your mother." The Bodhisattva bowed his head in thanks and said, "Great king, I thank you for your compassion and your mercy. I take my leave to go care for my mother." And so, the great white elephant began his journey back to Mount Chandorana. The king dispatched many servants to go and care for the Bodhisattva and his mother. When the great elephant arrived at the cave, he went to the lake and gathered a lot of water with his trunk. He then sprayed it up in the air above his mother. His mother, not realizing her son had come back, rebuked the rain. She said, "What evil gods now bring this unseasonable rain? What good is this rain when I don't have my son?" The Bodhisattva responded, "Rise, mother. Why should you lay here? Your son has returned. Videha, Kasi's glorious king, has sent me safely home." She then responded, "Long live that great king. May his realms all prosper. He freed my son who has always taken good care of me. By this merit, may he be blessed." And so, the Bodhisattva and his mother were reunited. When the king heard news of the Bodhisattva's reunion with his mother, he was overjoyed. He truly felt that a being that desired to care for and serve his parents, those who gave him life, was among the most deserving of reverence and respect. The king, reflecting on the Bodhisattva's goodness, had an elephant sanctuary built not too far from the lake. From time to time, the king would also visit Mount Chandorana and perform services for the Bodhisattva and his mother. After some time, the Bodhisattva's mother passed away, and the Bodhisattva paid his last respects. The Bodhisattva reflected upon the king's kindness in freeing him to go serve his mother. The Bodhisattva then decided to go live in the elephant sanctuary that the king had built. There, many sages and wise men came to cultivate their mental acumen and uphold the precepts. Every year on a particular day, people from all over India would visit the sanctuary to honor the Bodhisattva. This day became known as the Day of the Elephant Festival. After listening to the Jataka, the young monk got his answer. The Buddha had taken care of his parents in many past lives. In addition, the Buddha said that a son that is ordained as a monk can still be useful to his parents. The young monk decided that he would remain a monk and find a way to help his parents. And so, as the young monk traveled to Savatthi, he stopped to get his daily ration of food. Then, he went to the place where he heard his parents were living. When he arrived, he was shocked to see that it was a small, flimsy little straw hut. When he peered inside the cracked door, he saw a malnourished old man and woman leaning against each other near the back of the hut. He opened the door further, and a sudden burst of tears filled his eyes. The old woman, unable to see clearly who was at the door, weakly said, "Sir, we have nothing here that we can share with you. We ourselves are beggars and rely on the charity of others to survive. Sometimes we go days without food or water." The old man and woman were confused as to why the monk would not leave, even after they had explained their situation. They feebly went to the door, and the young monk's mother said, "Husband, could it be? Could this monk be our son?" They walked up closer to the young monk, who stood silently. When his parents realized that it was him, they fell to his feet and cried, "Our son! Our son!" The monk could no longer restrain himself and burst into tears and said, "Father, mother, do not grieve, do not worry. I will take care of you." And so, the young monk served his parents from the food in his bowl. Afterwards, the young monk went out for bintabat, or alms rounds. Since it was later in the day, he was not able to acquire much. He then returned to the hut and sat in a corner and ate the little food that he received. The monk did this for many days and began to lose weight and become pale in complexion. When his monk friends saw him, they asked him why he looked so skinny and was so pale. The monk then told his friends the entire story. This shocked them, and they said, "Brother, the Buddha does not allow us to waste the offerings given to us by the faithful. What you've done is an offense." The young monk felt ashamed and guilt-ridden. The monks then brought the sad monk to see the Buddha. In front of the entire assembly, the Buddha asked him,
"Is it true that you, a monk, take the offerings of the faithful and support payment with it?"
"It is true, my lord." "Who are these laymen that you support?" "My parents, my lord." And the Buddha responded by saying, "Well done. It is good. It is right. You are walking a path that I myself walked. I, in the past, supported my parents with the alms that I received." At this, the monks assembled requested the story, and the Buddha obliged. Once upon a time, there was a village of hunters who lived not far from Benares. There was another village of hunters nearby as well. The chiefs of these two villages were good friends. One had a son, and the other had a daughter. They planned to have the two marry when they came of age. Even though both children lived in hunting villages, they never harmed a single living being. The first chief had a son named Tukulaka. When Tukulaka was 16 years old, his parents said to him, "Son, we have a bride for you." Tukulaka, whose previous birth had been in the Brahma world, had no desire to live the life of a householder. His parents asked 3 times, and Tukulaka denied them 3 times. In the second village, the chief had a daughter named Parika. When she was 16, her parents said, "Parika, our friend's son is handsome, and we're going to arrange a marriage for you." Parika, also having just come from the Brahma world, closed her ears and refused. Tukulaka, hoping to nip this marriage talk in the bud, sent a private message to Parika saying, "If you wish to live as a wife to a husband, go look for another man. I have no wish for such a thing." Simultaneously, Parika had the same thought. She sent a similar message to Tukulaka. When the two messengers crossed paths, they decided to open the letters. After reading them, they discarded the messages and replaced them with love letters. Eventually, the two children had no choice but to accept the marriage that was arranged by the two chiefs. However, even after marriage, they maintained their celibacy. Even though they were from families of hunters, they never killed a living creature. They never even sold fish or meat that was brought to them. Their parents reprimanded them. "What good are you to your families if you refuse to kill anything?" Tukulaka then said, "If we are of no good to our families, please give us leave. We will become ascetics." The chiefs, thoroughly exacerbated by their children, said, "Fine, you have your leave. Go do what you want with your lives." And so, Tukulaka and Parika followed the banks of the Ganges River and entered the Himawat region. When they found the Mika Samata River, they followed it to its source. At that moment, Saka, the king of gods, felt his seat get very hot. This usually happens when beings of significant paramitas, qualities of character, are in need of assistance. When Saka looked down at Earth, he saw that these two beings wished to leave the world, and they needed shelter. Saka had one of his angels build 2 huts at the source of the Mika Samata River. When Tukulaka and Parika got there, they saw the huts and knew that they were gifts from Saka. Tukulaka ordained himself, and then ordained Parika. They lived in harmony with nature and practiced metta, or loving kindness. The birds and beasts could sense the metta and also lived in peace with each other. Parika would collect water and food, sweep the hermitage, and do all that needed to be done. One day, Saka looked down at the pair of ascetics. Having lived a very long time, Saka knew that the couple would soon experience danger due to the karma that they had created in their past lives. Saka adopted a human form and went to visit Dukulaka. Saka said, "Sir, I foresee a danger which will threaten you both. You must have a son so that he can take care of you." Dukulaka refused and said, "Saka, how could you recommend such a thing? We have maintained our celibacy and renounced sensual pleasures, yet you would have us make a child?" Saka then said, "If you will not do as I request, then at the proper time, touch Parika's navel with your finger." Dukulaka did what he was told, and at the right time, touched Parika's navel. Then, the Porisat descended from the heavenly realms and entered Parika's womb. After 10 months, Parika gave birth to a healthy, golden-hued baby boy. They named him Suwana-sama. After his parents washed him, they laid him down in a bed of leaves and went to collect fruit. The young Sama was then cared for by the Kinaras, beings that are half human, half bird. They cherished him and looked after his health and safety. As he grew, Sama would help with chores and often fetched water from the river. One evening, Dukulaka and Parika were returning from collecting roots when a great cloud began to rise. The pair quickly looked around for shelter. They took shelter in the roots of a tree, which happened to be near an anthill, and they decided to stand on it. However, a snake lived inside. As the rain hit the pair, it flowed down their bodies and washed their sweat onto the snake, greatly angering it. In order to get revenge for the offense, the snake slithered up the tree and spit venom into the eyes of Dukulaka and Parika, instantly blinding them. Dukulaka called out to Parika, "I can't see! I can't see! I'm blind!" Parika called out back to Dukulaka, "I can't see either! I can't see! We're doomed! Our lives are over!" They both thought to themselves, "What evil karma could we have done to deserve this?" In a former life, Dukulaka was born into a doctor's family and grew up to be a doctor himself. He helped treat a rich patient who was going blind. After he cured her, the rich patient refused to pay for his services. The doctor told his wife and asked her what he should do. His wife, who was also angry, said, "Do not take her money. Instead, let us take revenge. Make a concoction to blind her. You can give it to her. Just say it is medicine." The doctor did as his wife advised and gave the rich patient a concoction. He told her that it was vital medicine for her eyes. After applying the medicine, the rich patient completely lost her sight. Because of the sin of that life, Dukulaka and Parika had to pay for their past karma by being blinded for many lives. Sama, having come home, noticed that his parents were not at their usual place at their usual time. He then went to search for his parents, worried that something might have befallen them. As Sama searched, he made loud noises. Dukulaka and Parika, hearing their son's voice, answered loudly,
Dear child, do not come near. There is danger here.
Sama, being very wise and resourceful, found a long stick and told them to grab one end of it. They used it to come to him. Sama said, "Mother, father, what happened to you? What happened to your eyes?" His parents then responded,
We took shelter from the rain and stood on an anthill. The next thing we knew, something hit our eyes and we were blinded.
As he looked at his parents, Sama wept for their misfortune and pain. However, in the midst of his weeping, he began to laugh. This confused his parents, and they said, "Sama, dear son, have you lost your senses? Why did you weep and then suddenly begin laughing?" Sama then explained, "Dear parents, I wept because your sight is gone and your lives will be much more difficult. I laughed because I then realized that I have the opportunity to take care of you and repay you for the gift of life. Owing to this gift, I have the opportunity to develop my paramitas and create good karma, which will benefit me in my future rebirths." Upon hearing his explanation, Lukulaka and Parika smiled. Sama created a system of ropes to help his parents navigate between the buildings and the bathrooms. He stayed close to his parents every day and tended to their every need and want. He dutifully performed his service and never complained or harbored resentment. He went out to gather food every day and made sure his parents ate before he took his portion. Meanwhile, in Benares, not too far away, there reigned a king named Biliyaka. He had an obsession with hunting and eating deer meat. On his latest hunt, the king happened to come upon Sama while he fetched water for his parents. Having never seen a being with such an impressive aura, Biliyaka marveled at the sight of Sama. He assumed that Sama was a god or a dewa. The king thought to himself,
If I return and tell the others what I have seen, they will not believe me. They may even laugh at me. I must bring back proof of this being's existence. If I approach him, he will just disappear or fly away. I know. I must prevent him from fleeing. I'll wound him. Yes, that is what I shall do.
And so the king watched as Sama went down to the river to fetch water. All the animals surrounded him as they usually did. When the king found the right moment, he let his arrow fly. Right as Sama was getting up, the arrow pierced his chest. Sama, instead of being afraid, tried to position the water jar as best he could and fell onto his side. Even in his moment of danger, he was concerned for his parents' well-being. The animals around him fled in terror. Sama, not seeing the king, reflected aloud. Who could have wounded me while I fetched water? Whoever you are, you cannot eat my flesh, nor use my skin. What use is it to kill me? The king observed that even though Sama was gravely wounded, he did not yell insults or express anger. Instead, He spoke gently. The king, realizing he made a grave mistake, approached Sama.
I am King Piliyaka, the king of the Kasis. I left my throne to roam the forest and hunt deer. I am greatly skilled in archery, and once I take aim, no animal or naga can escape me. Now please tell me, who are you?
Sama thought, if I lied, he would believe me, but one must tell the truth. I am known as Sama. I am the son of an outcast hunter. I am here to bring water to my blind parents, whom I look after and care for. All I care about now is how they will survive out here without me. I have barely gathered a week's supply of food for them, and they are already out of water. I fear not my own death, but the pain my mother will feel when she realizes that I never came home. I fear not my own death, but the pain my father will feel when he realizes that his only son is dead. They will go wandering in the forest looking for their son, who will never return again. This is what I fear. Then the king thought, in what kind of hell will I find myself after killing a noble son who cares for his parents? The king then told Sama,
O worthy Sama, great Sama, do not despair. I will take care of your parents.
Sama weakly responded, Great and kind-hearted king, I thank you for helping my blind and helpless parents. I greatly appreciate your kindness. And after giving his final message, Sama became unconscious. The king, understanding Sama was dead, thought,
I am so vile and so evil. My actions are unforgivable. Hell is surely my destination. However, if I leave now, who will know my name? Who will know what I did?
At that very moment, a daughter of the gods named Bahu Sodari, who had previously been a mother to the Porisat 7 existences ago, came to check on Sama. When she saw what happened, she realized that if she did not intervene, Sama would die, the king's heart would break, and Sama's parents would die of hunger and thirst. However, by intervening, Sama might live. The king would bring the water jar to Sama's parents, and they would live too. So Bahu Sodari made herself visible and said,
King, you have done a truly wicked action. Heavy will the guilt lie upon your mind. You have killed 3 people in one evil action: a son, a father, and a mother. However, I will tell you how to find refuge for your guilt. Take the water to nurse and care for the old blind couple in the forest up the hill.
The king took Bahu Sodari's words to heart. He understood that if he cared for the blind parents, he would go to heaven. So, he resolved to devote himself to caring for them. He carried the water and headed towards the place where Sama's parents resided. When King Piliyaka arrived at the hut, he confessed that he had killed Sama. Dukulaka and Parika lamented out loud. However, they did not attack or reproach the king. They did not allow their grief to make them forget their place. They still respected his position and feared his wrath. The king promised them that he would henceforth serve all their needs. However, all they said was,
Please, sir, take us to our Sama, wherever he is. Please take us there so we may caress his body once more.
King Piliyaka packed some supplies and led Dukulaka and Parika to Sama's body. Dukulaka and Parika caressed their son's body. Their hearts broke from the pain of knowing that their kind-hearted son had been taken from them. Why was life so cruel to one so young and good? Sama had never done any evil, but evil befell him. Parika, unable to accept that her son was dead, performed an asseveration of truth with the emotional strength of a heartbroken and grieving mother. If it is true that Sama had always lived virtuously, then may this poison lose its force and become harmless. If it is true that Sama spoke truth and nursed his parents night and day, then may this poison in his veins be overpowered. May the virtue of whatever merit his father and I have gained in former days, may its virtue overpower the poison and save our son. After she made her solemn asseveration, Sama turned. Dukulaka then made his asseveration of truth, just as Parika had before him. After he made his solemn asseveration, Sama turned around and laid on his other side. Then the goddess made herself visible and made her own solemn asseveration. I have passed my days in these mountains and these forests. None of this earth's inhabitants are as dear to me as this being. If what I speak is the truth, may all my virtues and good deeds be dedicated to Sama. May his wounds be healed, and may he be brought back to his former vigor and strength. And before their very eyes, by the power of their asservations of truth and dedications of merit, Sama's wounds were slowly healed, and the poison left his body. As the poison left, his color returned. Along with the great being's recovery, Dukulaka and Parika regained their eyesight. Then the dawn broke. Sama rose and embraced his parents. Their hearts almost burst from the emotions that had flowed through them. King Biliyaka could not believe what he just saw. Sama took this opportunity to explain to the king that the gods and divine beings recognize the piety of beings that refrain from harming others, stealing, sexual misconduct, harmful speech, and intoxication, and those who nurse their parents and show respect. To them, the gods come to their aid. For those beings, the gods rejoice in their goodness and praise their deeds. In the next life, those beings are blessed with heaven. King Biliyaka took Sama's teachings to heart and returned to his kingdom to teach the law of morality and good deeds to his people, who were all reborn into pleasing rebirths after passing away. As for Sama, he cared for his parents until the end of their days. Sama and his parents were reborn in the Brahma world, awaiting their next rebirth. What did you learn from this story? We hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you did, and click subscribe if you want to see our uploads.